Hi, welcome to Akarita Meme. Today we're going to get into the second video in our playlist in our series titled Paul Problems. And today we're going to be looking at a very, very significant issue, extremely significant, that most people overlook in terms of testing Paul. Let's jump to 1 John chapter 4, verses 2 and 3. 1 John chapter 4, verses 2 and 3. This is serious stuff. I read this section for years, never really understood what was going on here. It's kind of a mystery. Eventually I worked out what I thought was a way to properly understand what John is saying here, but now I understand the full reality of what he's warning about here. So we're in 1 John 4, verses 2 and 3, but I'm going to start from verse 1 just for some added context. Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits. What's the objective with this series of videos? We are testing. We are called to test. We are commanded to test. It is our duty to test. Test the spirits to see whether they are from God. Are these spirits, is this spirit really from God, or is it another spirit? Because many false prophets have gone out into the world. Verse 2. By this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Yeshua Messiah has come in the flesh is from God. And every spirit that does not confess Yeshua is not from God. This is of anti-Mashiach, the antichrist, of which you have heard that it is coming and now is already in the world. Let's stop and think about what John is saying here. In verse 2 he says, by this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Yeshua Messiah has come in the flesh is of God. This doesn't really on the surface make much sense. After all, we know even the demons believe and tremble. Even the demons know. So how can the surface level understanding of this statement by John, how can it really hold water? How can it make sense? Every spirit that confesses that Yeshua Messiah has come in the flesh is from God. So let's look at things from a very simplistic point of view. What is John telling us? He's telling us that the spirit of the anti-Messiah says that Yeshua didn't really come in the flesh. That's what he's saying. Does this fit with anything that we read about in our Bibles? How are we to properly understand this? John's giving us a warning. John speaks over and over and over and over again, just as Yeshua speaks over and over and over again about Paul. They don't name drop. These are veiled warnings. They know. John knows. If he name drops, his letters are not going to be included in the canon of the Bible. He's got to keep it on the down low. These are veiled warnings. Every spirit that does not confess that Yeshua Messiah came in the flesh is not of God. It is in reality of anti-Mashiach. And John says, is already in the world in John's day. So what are we to make of this? Let's look at 2 John chapter 1, verses 7 through 11. 2 John 1, 7 through 11. For many deceivers have gone out into the world, those who do not acknowledge Yeshua Messiah as coming in the flesh. This is the deceiver and the anti-Mashiach, the antichrist, the anti-Messiah. Watch yourselves, beware that you do not lose what we have accomplished, but that you may receive a full reward. Anyone who goes too far and does not abide in whose teaching? In the teaching of Yeshua, in the teaching of the Mashiach, does not have God. The one who abides in the teaching, he has both the Father and the Son. Verse 10, if anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, don't receive him into your house. And do not give him a greeting, for the one who gives him a greeting participates in his evil deeds. Do you think this is important? John again warns us, those who do not acknowledge that Yeshua Messiah came in the flesh, they're not of God. Watch yourselves. Beware. What's John talking about? Obviously, you know something. Let's dig deeper. Let's look at Romans chapter 8, verse 3. Romans chapter 8, verse 3. So what are we searching for here? We're searching for the one who doesn't confess that Yeshua came in the flesh. That's what we're searching out. Because John warned us about this individual. John warned us ahead of time, just as Yeshua warned us. Let's take a look at verse 3. For what the law could not do, weak as it was through the flesh, God did, sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh. And as an offering for sin, he condemned sin in the flesh. What's he saying here? Did Paul just say that Yeshua came in the flesh? Or did Paul say that Yeshua came in the likeness of flesh? He said that he came in the likeness of flesh. If I say that that's a Jeep over there, is it the same thing as me saying, that looked like a Jeep? No. They're two different things. Something looks like something, has the appearance of something, is far different from that being the actual thing of substance. That's the genuine article. That looked like a Rolex. That is a Rolex. Very different. Okay? So maybe Paul just didn't choose his words wisely. Maybe he slipped up. Let's take a look. Let's look at Philippians chapter 2, verses 7 and 8. Philippians chapter 2, verses 7 and 8. But he emptied himself, taking the form of a bondservant. He wasn't a bondservant, he took the form of a bondservant, and being made in the likeness of men. Was he made as a man? No. He was made in the likeness of a man. Being found in appearance as a man. Was he found a man? No, he was found in the appearance of a man. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. So again, is Paul saying he came as a man? Or is he saying that he came in the likeness of a man? In the appearance of a man? Very, very different. Very important. Nearly everybody skips over these things. They read fast, they don't read carefully. This is what John was warning about. Okay? But again, maybe Paul was just having a bad day. Maybe he slipped up, didn't choose his words carefully. Let's go to Galatians and let's look at 1:1. Galatians 1:1. Paul, an apostle, again, who's bearing witness to Paul as an apostle? himself. Who's calling Paul an apostle? He's calling himself an apostle. Paul, an apostle, not sent from men nor through the agency of man. Who sent him as an apostle? Not a man. Was Yeshua a man 2,000 years ago? Did he come as a man? You better believe he did. He says he's not sent from men or through the agency of man, but through Jesus Christ and God the Father. He's saying, I wasn't sent from man, I was sent from Jesus. If Yeshua is a man, then this doesn't make sense. Who raised him from the dead, and all the brethren who are with me. Now let's jump to verses 11 and 12. Same chapter. So this is Galatians 1, 11 and 12. For I would have you know, brethren, that the good news, the gospel, which was preached by me, this is Paul's gospel. This is not Yeshua's gospel. It's Paul's gospel. Is not according to man. He wasn't given this by a man. For I neither received it from man, nor was I taught it, but I received it through a revelation of Jesus Christ. So Paul's saying, I didn't get this from a man. He doesn't believe Yeshua is a man. He believes that he came in the likeness of a man. He came in the likeness of flesh. He did not come in the flesh. This is something called docetism. Docetism. You can Google this. Docetism. And this is what Paul believed and taught. This is heresy. This is blasphemy. It is heresy. And we were warned about this by John. There's no way to tap dance around this. This is what Paul taught on multiple occasions. This is what he believed. And this is what we were warned to be on guard about. So I hope that you enjoyed this second video in our series. With that, we're going to wrap this up. Again, I'm going to include all of the passages that we went through in the description below, in the video description, so that you can take your time and go through them one by one on your own. Have the courage to test these things. And don't be afraid to hold Paul up to the light, because that's in fact what we've been instructed and are commanded to do. It is our duty. So until next time, keep searching him while he is yet still able to be found. Shalom.